Alright guys, it's happening. It's finally happening. This is really happening. I'm getting to my top 10 list for one of my favorite systems of all time. Don't go anywhere. This is happening.
What is this?
Hey everybody, it's me, Scott Galaxy, and today's video is very special. It's super special indeed because I have been waiting to do this video for a very long time. Now, I normally don't like to make top 10 lists or top 25 in this case because it's, I usually don't have the entire library to make a really good assessment of what the top 10 is or what the top 25 is. But that being said, I have been collecting for ColecoVision for a very long time now. If you're watching this video, you're obviously going to be a ColecoVision fan yourself. So I'm finally close to completing it. I've got 10 left to get, and a lot of those are educational. There's anywhere between 129 to like 146 games that were released, but I think most of us would probably agree that 129 is probably the right number for here. So like I said, with the remainder of the titles really just being educational titles, I think it's safe to say I can do my top 10 list now. Now, it was super hard. I actually started with a top 10 list. It's actually expanded to top 25 because there just are so many unbelievably good games on the ColecoVision system that it was just too hard. It was too hard to do it, and I would probably just be angry with myself a week later thinking, why didn't I put that in the top 10? So I'll quit talking. Let's just get into the list. Let's go from 25 to 1, and here they are. These are my personal top 25. I hope you like them. Check it out. Number 25 is Pitfall. Now, it's hard to believe I'm starting my list out with Pitfall. I know it's one of the most iconic games ever made on the system. It's arguably one of the best, at least in my opinion, on any system. And I don't think I need to really go through what this game is about. You already have seen it. You've probably played it a million times over. It's easily one of the best games on the ColecoVision. Number 24, River Raid. Now, I had this game on the Atari 2600, and when I heard it was coming out on the ColecoVision, I had to, of course, have it, and I was not disappointed. It's fast-paced, with the right amount of difficulty, but beware, your fingers will hurt because of all the extreme firing that you gotta do. You're gonna be tired. This right here, you better be working on that, man. Better be working. There's probably a joke in here somewhere. Number 23. I love this game. Especially when I was in the arcade, I played it religiously. And when it came out on the ColecoVision, I fell in love with it even more. As I mentioned for the other two games, it's easily one of the best versions of the game on any system at the time. And again, if you don't have this, please go get it. Number 22, 2010. Now, this is a game I actually appreciate more today than I did probably when I was a kid. You don't often think of 2010 as a perfect game to make for kids, but ColecoVision did it. And it's a great puzzler. I put this in the same category as something like a war games, in that your blood pressure starts to rise because things get so frantic as the game progresses. Like, it's one of those, like, I love it and I hate it for that specific reason. But you're gonna love it, I guarantee it. It's a classic. Number 21, Rocky. Now this is the first of 3 super action games on my list. Rocky, while it is kind of a single beat kind of game, it's a game that I played quite a bit with my brothers. It was also the catalyst for us fighting pretty much all the time. True story, I would always play as Clubber Lang against my brothers. Don't ask me why. It's because Mr. T pitied the fool. Number 20, Zaxxon. Again, this is one of those games where you're like, number 20, this is one of the most iconic games for ColecoVision of all time. Everybody knows that. But it's also a perfect example of how hard it is to rank these games. Now, Zaxxon could easily be in my top 5 list. It may even be your number 1. This was a launch title, and it was clearly the best port at the time for any system, and this is also one of the reasons why I'm a huge Sega fan. Number 19, Super Action Baseball. So as the name suggests, you need that Super Action controller in order to play this game. But don't worry, because this game came with the Super Action controller, so you can't play one without the other. And this is where I kind of wanted to say this for a long time. I don't think ColecoVision programmers, the programmers for ColecoVision, get enough credit for what they did. I mean, they came up with some really, really fascinating games, and they really need to get more credit for what they did. I mean, I'm not even a baseball fan, and I love this game. And at the time, it was graphically so far superior to anything out at the time that I was just, I mean, I was blown away. This felt like being at a baseball game for the first time that I have ever experienced on a video game console. But someone does need to tell me why every baseball player is right-handed. There's got to be a lefty in there somewhere. Number 18, Super Action Football. Now, as a kid, I was a sports nut, hands down. And this was the game I always wished we could have. And in 1984, ColecoVision gave it to us. Now, I also credit this game to single-handedly breaking down my Super Action controllers at the time. Spinning that wheel to try to run as fast as you can while your brothers are spinning theirs super fast to try to catch you. It's really, yeah, they didn't last long. I remember my fingers ached for days, and I really didn't care. I didn't care. It was 8-on-8 football, and it was as real as I had ever seen. And the players would get bigger. This is the cool thing. The players would actually get bigger as they got closer to the screen, and smaller when they were further away. Like that was like breakthrough technology at the time. Like what? And the scoreboard was interactive. It would say "ouch" when you got sacked. And to this day, really, it is the most impactful football game I have ever played. And to be honest, even as we speak, I don't know why I don't have this higher on my list, but I guess we'll find out why it's not higher. Number 17, Carnival. This is the epitome of gameplay, gameplay, gameplay. There is no other game that can best Carnival for replayability. It simply delivers. This is one of my handful of go-to games when I play my ColecoVision. Frogger. Now, do I really need to discuss this game? It's a classic that got the red carpet treatment on ColecoVision, and the one thing I will say about this game is that it's much tougher than what I remember playing at the arcade. It's very challenging. Number 15, James Bond 007. This is a perfect example of why graphics don't necessarily make a great game. To me, this was all about gameplay. The premise is a bit kooky, shooting diamonds in the sky and jumping over oil rigs, but your vehicle was all Bond, baby. It was an automobile, it was a plane, a submarine, all rolled into this really cool vehicle. It really felt like a juiced up Moon Patrol, which who doesn't love Moon Patrol? There are 4 films represented in the game. It's Diamonds Are Forever, The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, one of my favorites, and For Your Eyes Only. Can you become 007? Number 14, Wing War. As another review of this game pointed out, this isn't really a war. But you do use your wings, so there's something there. When this game came out, I was in awe of the graphics. The 3D world outside, the caves underground, it felt like a different game. And it is. This isn't fast-paced or a button-mashing experience. This is just an experience. Yes, there is a goal to collect 3 elemental crystals and acquire a diamond so you can face off against your toughest foe, but you're going to be mesmerized by the scenery more than anything. My brothers and I played this day and night and all the way back again just to see how far we could go. And for some reason, it never got old. It was frustrating, yes, but never got old. I'm fully aware that this one's probably a surprise, but this game had an impact on me and I don't think it gets enough love. Number 13, Turbo. This is the first game on my list that requires the expansion module number 2. It's not really an expansion module. I know that this has probably been said a million times over. It's really just a controller that plugs into the controller port. But nonetheless, if you don't know what it is, it's a steering wheel and pedal peripheral, which really, again, just plugs into the controller socket. In fact, this game was the packing game for the peripheral. ColecoVision just knew what they were doing. Anyway, this game was amazing. It was popular in the arcade, and it was just as popular on the ColecoVision. And I think it really showed off what the ColecoVision could really do, how it could closely replicate the visuals of the original arcade version, while also adding the realism of the steering wheel at home with the pedal and the shifting controls. I mean, this game often got 10 out of 10 marks. I mean, this was the game for a long time. Number 12, the Dukes of Hazzard. So this is the second game that requires the expansion module number 2, the steering wheel. And I've done a separate review on this game alone, and you can check that out if you want to know more. But essentially this game is based on the popular 80s TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard, and it does a phenomenal job of creating a 3D style driving game. The goal in this game is to save Daisy Duke from Jeremiah's stinge, or stingy, however you want to say it. And you do that by passing his blue car. I'm assuming she's in the trunk. I don't know. But you do need to be careful because Boss Hogg is on your tail, so don't get caught. Number 11, Moonsweeper. So if you wanted to see what the ColecoVision could do, look no further than Moonsweeper. I was blown away the first time I played this. It still amazes me today that they were able to do this. So the goal in this game is to rescue miners from the moons in Star Quadrant Jupiter. You begin your mission in space where you must avoid deadly aurora flames, photon torches, and space bullets. And they all come from the sun in this quadrant, so, you know, just letting you know, it's pretty dangerous. From time to time, you will see a moon pass by, and by flying near it, you can descend to the surface. That's where the screen changes. So as you sweep along the surface, you'll see some stranded miners, which need to be rescued by flying over them. Also on the moon's surface are various obstacles which must be avoided or destroyed, such as towers and lunar satellites, as well as alien surface destroyers. And should you survive and rescue all 6 miners, which by the way is the maximum your ship can carry, everybody knows that, then you may take off from the surface by using the accelerator rings. That's actually where I got my biggest kick in this game, is making sure I stayed those rings. So there are several different types of moons found in this quadrant, each with a different level of difficulty, and to help out, your ship is equipped with photon torpedoes and shields. Though you're going to lose points if you use your shields. Don't use them as much as you need to. I wouldn't use them. So here we go. Top 10 list. Here we go. This is it. Number 10, Tarzan. Now this is one of those games that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I have no idea why. This game was graphically impressive at the time, and it had elements from games like Jungle Hunt and Pitfall to boot. I mean, this game was amazing. And the goal of the game is to save your ape friends from the beastmen of Opar, who have allied with what looks like British hunters, I don't know. Anyway, you must save your tribe before they're shipped off to zoos everywhere because, you know, that was a problem. But story aside, the graphics are just amazing. They're top-notch, and I think the audio is even superb. And if you don't have this game, you obviously need to go get it. Number 9, Tapper, or Root Beer Tapper. Root Beer Tapper is another classic that was a near perfect port on the ColecoVision system. I'm actually old enough to have played the original version in the arcade where you're served beer instead of root beer, but maybe that's a story for another video. The whole point is to keep your patrons happy by keeping a root beer in their hands at all times. And don't forget to collect money and catch all those empty glasses of root beer. And also, don't try to tell me that that bartender doesn't look like Mario. Don't tell me it doesn't look like him. That's Mario serving root beer. Number 8, Venture. Now, I really wanted to put this game higher, I really did, because it most definitely is one of my favorite games on the system, and it's also one that has high replayability. Now, you play as Winky, I know that's a strange name, and you're thankfully pretty good at using a bow and arrow. And you explore a dungeon with rooms and hallways as you try to fulfill your quest of stealing treasure. Same old, same old. You know, the tried and true kind of storylines for these games back then. But you're basically a thief, and I don't feel real good about that. But be careful, because if you linger in a room too long, a hall monster appears to chase you down. So get in and get out with the treasure as soon as you can. And the quicker you are, the higher the points. Now this is easily a top 10 for me. Easily top 10. Number 7, Pepper 2. So I don't want to say it, but I have to say it because this is what everybody says. But why do they call it Pepper 2? We don't know. It'll never be answered. I just don't know. There was no Pepper 1. But regardless, this is a phenomenal game. It's one of my go-tos when I need a ColecoVision fix, and that's because it's fast-paced, it's colorful, and sometimes it's infuriating with those darn controls. I pulled left. But it's always fun, and so prepare yourself. You're going to get addicted to it. Number 6, Donkey Kong Jr. There are a number of games that come to mind when I think about my childhood days in the arcade, and Donkey Kong Jr. is easily one of the first I think of. I love this game in the arcade, and I love it even more on the ColecoVision. Actually, everybody loved this game, and the ColecoVision version, much like its predecessor Donkey Kong, was nearly spot on. Like, you honestly can't talk about ColecoVision without talking about Donkey Kong Jr. It's a classic. Number 5, Donkey Kong. Now really, what is there to say about this game? It was hands down the best Donkey Kong game ever made at the time for any console, period. In fact, I'm sure it's on the top of most people's ColecoVision lists, and rightfully so. It's hard to disagree. And sure, it's missing one of the steel girders on the opening screen. And maybe, yeah, it's missing an entire level. Pi converter belt level. And maybe even some enemies and cutscenes, but it was nearly spot on. And it really showed the power of ColecoVision. So if this is your number one, I cannot blame you. It really is ColecoVision's calling card. Number 4, Gorf. What can I say about Gorf? It was one of the first games I got for ColecoVision, and it was one of the best. It still is. This was like 4 games rolled into one. There was Astro Battles, which was a lot like Space Invaders. There was Laser Attack, which was like Galaxian or Galaga. There was also Space Warp, which is somewhat reminiscent of Gyrus, and of course the flagship, which is really the only unique stage in that I can't think of any game that looks like this. Maybe Yar's Revenge, I don't know. But unique or not, this game was, and still is, amazing. And I can remember bragging about becoming a Space Avenger when my brothers could only reach Space Warrior. I just always thought that was a nice way to keep players coming back for more. Rising through the ranks was a brilliant idea, and I absolutely love this game. I still play this game quite a bit. Number 3, Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle. Now let me first just say, I am not a Smurf fan. I was never really a big Smurf fan, period. I mean, not in the least. But I love this game. Why that is, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, but I think the reason was it felt like I was playing a Smurf cartoon, not really a game. I mean, honestly, the graphics blew me away, and the whole thing is quite a simple concept, really. Gargamel has kidnapped Smurfette. Everybody remembers Smurfette. As a Smurf, I'm not sure which one you are, you have to walk from the Smurf village through a forest and a cave on the way to Gargamel's castle where Smurfette awaits rescue. And, you know, the obstacles are pretty basic. I don't know if you've ever been hurt by a clump of grass, but certainly Smurfs get hurt by grass blades. In fact, they die. They don't just get hurt, they die. I didn't even mention the bats and the spiders that just kind of show up. But like I said, it all boils down to plain, simple fun and graphics. Number 2, Q*bert. Q*bert is an action puzzle game played from a third-person perspective for a faux 3D look. You, of course, control Q*bert, who moves by hopping diagonally from cube to cube. And did you know there are 28 total cubes in all? Landing on a cube causes it to change color, and once you change them all to the color that it needs to be, you move on to the next stage. Now there are some enemies along the way, and I don't know if anybody knows the names of these, but I'm going to tell you. You've got Coily, who's that purple egg that bounces to the bottom of the pyramid and then tries to chase you. He's that snake guy. You also have Ugg and Wrong Way, those two that kind of jump sideways. Pretty annoying. Slick and Sam, those are the two green creatures that descend down the pyramid and revert cubes, whose color's already been changed. And I hate that guy. I hate them the most. I hate them. But not only is this a classic, it's one of the most addicting games you'll ever play. It was huge in the arcade. ColecoVision did an awesome port of it, and it's just as addicting. It's simple, it's fast, it's strategy, and it's also aggravation. Pretty much the ingredients of every great 80s arcade game ever made. Number 1 is Burger Time. This was an amazing arcade game. I play this on multiple systems today. Nintendo, ColecoVision, Intellivision. It came out on just about everything. And to me, I like this one better even than the Nintendo Entertainment System version. The controls just seem better to me on the ColecoVision. I don't know why. It's just a little bit harder on the NES. But in this game, you are Chef Peter Pepper, and the object of the game is to complete a number of hamburgers while avoiding enemy foods like Mr. Hot Dog, Mr. Pickle, and Mr. Egg. It's almost like a 5-year-old created some like comic book and said, here you go. And then they said, oh, let's make a game out of this. You can score extra points by either crushing them under a falling ingredient or by dropping an ingredient while they are standing on it. In the latter case, the ingredients fall 2 extra levels for every enemy caught on it. But be wary because crushed or dropped enemies return to the maze after a short time, and they will get you when you least expect it. They'll just pop out of the side and you're just walking, minding your own business, and then Mr. Hot Dog just kind of Mr. Hot Dogs you. There are 6 boards of increasing difficulty, and after you complete the 6th board, the cycle repeats. I love this game because the difficulty itself is really, it's like spot on. I mean, I find the difficulty on this like my style. And the gameplay is simple. You get to throw some pepper from time to time to help you out. You have to collect objects to make sure you can fill up your pepper supply again. The sound is great. And as I've mentioned in prior games, it's all about replayability. If you can come back and play this game over and over again, you know you've got yourself a good game. And this is one of those games. I probably play this one more than any other game on ColecoVision. And it's because it's simple, it's fun, it's challenging, and it's just one of those timeless games that anybody can play. You can pick it up and know exactly what you're doing almost immediately. And I don't see myself stopping playing this game for any reason. It's just, it really is a classic and just incredibly fun. And it is definitely my number 1 game. As of today, anyway. So, there you have it. That is my top 25 ColecoVision games of all time. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure you have something different. They all mean different things to everybody. Some have more of a connection than others. And that's why these kind of things are fun to do, because this kind of gives you an insight of what I liked about the ColecoVision, and what I like is going to be completely different than what you liked about ColecoVision and some of those games. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear what your top 10s are. Before you go though, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so that you're reminded of every video I do. And as always, I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you for another Layman Video Gamer episode on the next turnaround. We'll see you again.